I absolutely love this decentralized exchange, and I've been playing around with it for quite a while. And ever since the launch on testnet back in December in 2021, I've been a big fan. It's just smooth, it just works, and it seems very flawless and very polished. And this is WingRiders, and I finally got the team on here. I got Liam and Kaaran joining me on this episode to talk all about the DEX, talk about some of the really unique features on there. Something as simple as token to any token swap, and that is absolutely fantastic because at the moment on any other DEX you have to go back to ADA before swapping to another token. So if you want to cover yourself in multiple different assets, you need to pay those extra fees. But here on WingRiders you don't. But they talk about that and a whole bunch of other really cool features on there as well, and up to 3 ways that you can earn rewards on the platform, so you can triple dip into those rewards. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's get into the interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have the team from WingRiders, or 2 of them. I have Liam and Kaaran joining me on this podcast episode to talk about the DEX, a little bit about the background, the launch, and also some upcoming features as well. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for having us, man. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to finally get this thing up and running and get you guys on the podcast. It's been a little while to get this one organized, but you guys are here. So let's start off with a little bit about your background and history. Some people do know who you are, but I'd love to get an overview so our listeners here on the Learn Cardano podcast can know who you are. So Liam, can you give us a little bit of a background how you got into the crypto space and how you ended up with WingRiders?
Yeah, sure. I've been in crypto quite a while now. I was working it out the other day, because I had a birthday not that long ago. I've been in for 7 years. I've been sort of aware of the space for longer than that, but around sort of 2015, 2016, I was living in Hong Kong. I was working for a payments company called, well, first, we were actually looking, could we move money cross-border using Bitcoin, right? So if we wanted to move US dollars and then change them to pounds. But at that stage, because we were doing like quite a big volume, it wouldn't have worked as a product, right? Because buying the Bitcoin in the US would have raised the price so much that we would have lost our commission. But we were kind of aware of it. I left there and went to work for a company called ANX, which is a Hong Kong-based sort of development shop. I joined them as the chief marketing officer, and then 3 months later, it was the sort of the last real bull market, 2017, 2018, right? The ICO boom. And they were like, we're going to do an ICO. We're going to do a decentralized exchange on Ethereum. And I was like, the only ICO I understood at all was the DAO itself, right? And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know that much about it, but like I understand conceptually what it is. So I pulled a really small team of guys out, and we ran and like executed and built the MVP in 3 months. We raised about 20 million, which wasn't a lot at that time, but the smart contract that we used for OEX was the name of the project. It's still around. That smart contract went on to be used by so many other projects. Monaco, which was a card, they used our smart contract.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're now called crypto.com, so they did better than we did. There was a bunch of projects that used it because it was written by an Aussie guy called Boki Puba, who's actually super well respected in the development space. Yeah. I think he still runs cryptoderivatives.net, which is like a really, really small, like boutique kind of nifty exchange that does like derivatives on crypto. And he was doing like complex long and shorts and stuff like well before anyone else was. So the code was good and many people used it. So that was really my baptism of fire in crypto, right? 2017, 2018 ICO boom. All these advisors were telling you that they'd be like, I can give you the US. I've got millions of people. I've got a list of family offices. Never eventuated, right? We did very well in China. We knew the right people in China. But yeah, so that was my baptism of fire. Post that sale, I was with the project for about another year. Then I was recruited out of there, headhunted for a company called Diginex, which is now called Equinex and is now listed on the NASDAQ. So that's like a sort of high-end investment bank kind of blockchain play. I joined them as employee number 7. I did the product marketing for like 7 or 8 of their products, built the brand. Then they went straight through in about 2 years to do the NASDAQ listing. I moved back to Australia about not quite 2 years ago, 18 months ago, and I started working for a company called Banksa, which is an Aussie-grown sort of crypto payments company. I was with them for a while. So in my sort of meandering through the crypto space, I've figured out a couple of things. One, I'm a terrible trader, right? I've almost never made money on trades. I'm the guy who's at work when a serious price movement happens, and I like my ledger's at home, and I'm like, shit, I'll just have to wait to get home. And by the time you get home, like you're wrecked. But I've done all right on holding, right? On hodling. So I've got like some Ethereum, some Bitcoin. I've done all right on those, but yeah, I'm not a good trader. It's not my skill set, but I'm pretty good. Like I understand a fair number of the blockchains out there. You know, I started off on Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, Solana, Cardano, those guys sort of joined my understanding later. But yeah, so crypto generalist, and generally I'm pretty optimistic about the space. If we can just cut down on the scams and the like total craziness, I think that there's like a massive disruptive force here.
Little bit of craziness in there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And Kaaran, what about you?
Well, my introduction is definitely not going to be as long as Liam's. Yeah, I mean, how far do I rewind? Crypto. So I came from an academic background. I was a senior lecturer at university for many years in marketing and management. I became interested in kind of the whole, if you like, Bitcoin conversation or silent conversation at that time. And I started learning about it. And literally, I dived in 2014, where one of our friends who was the marketing, I think, brand manager at Ethereum, who designed the logo, actually, he came and said, look, there's this great opportunity, you know, and, you know, it's called Ethereum. And I said, like, what the hell is it, man? He said, well, you know, Ethereum's like Bitcoin, but better. I said, okay, so what's in it for us? He said, well, there's a crowd sale. They weren't called ICOs then. So 2015, it launched, and that kind of the love story started. I actually became very interested in the trading part of, if you like, kind of the whole cryptoverse. And I kind of dabbled into buying, selling in 2015, and whiz forward to 2018, I launched a crypto hedge fund. And essentially, it was one of the earliest hedge funds in the space. And ran that for a couple of years, and then kind of moved on. And here I am, basically, WingRiders. So, and I got interested in WingRiders because really I met the team, and we had several conversations, and it was just really kind of the dev prowess that I saw coming through and what they were trying to do that really enticed me into saying, like, can I have a job? And here I am.
Oh, wow. You asked for the job. That's different rather than being recruited into it. Both of you guys' backgrounds are pretty up there. Pretty well experienced, high caliber, like crypto hedge fund, and working for all these particular crypto companies. That's a really good long work history. And then moving now into WingRiders, that it kind of shows the caliber of staff and people that they recruit for the team to actually work on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, for me, probably going back like a couple of years when I first started working at a company called DigiNex, I used to sit right next to this guy who was our head of innovation, a Spanish guy called Jose Perez. Shout out to Jose. He's still around. He's like one of the best coders I've ever worked with because he could just make an MVP super fast, right? Like right now, I don't know what he's doing with it, but he had a product called Whale Chat, which was a chat app that would anonymously ping wallets that you held the private keys for, right? So if you think about a crypto exchange, they could prioritize customer inquiries based on how much money people had, right? Without actually taking your identity or anything like that. But you could be like, oh, this guy's got 100,000 ADA on our platform. He's a whale, right? This guy's only got 5 and he's basically complaining about like a bad trade that he made. So he's deprioritized. So Jose used to make crazy stuff really fast, right? And for me, if you don't have a good development team, ultimately in this space, you're largely just marketing, right? Yeah, and there's a lot of middlemen, right? It's the curse of our industry. There's a lot of rent-seeking middlemen, right? Whether that's agencies who don't really deliver or guys who provide some sort of technical expertise, but not really that much. Like ultimately, you want to bring all that stuff in-house if you can. And when I spoke to the WingRiders guys, largely like Kaaran, like it was a bit different. They approached me. We had a couple of conversations, and the technical expertise is the thing that really was obvious right from the start, right? like they almost had a complete MVP done before we came out of stealth. Right? Like the proof of concept. They just didn't want to come out and be like, oh, let's launch a Twitter account when we don't have anything. They were like, oh, it's pretty much done. Here's our product. Right? So yeah. So it's a different approach.
And if I can just add to that, so that what Liam just really said underpins the whole philosophy of WingRiders, which was quite attractive again. It's like, let's not talk about something if we don't have it. So let's develop it first and talk about it. And you'll see this kind of throughout everything we do, all the communication, anything that we've developed, tested fully is then talked about. So very much what Liam was saying, but that's actually a philosophy.
Well, just watching the launch of the WingRiders DEX, like when NuFi launched and I saw it for the first time, I think it was like back in early December 2021, I saw it, I jumped on and it was pretty much completely built. You could do everything that you wanted to do on testnet. I was playing around with it and it's pretty much flawless. The execution was quite different in that it was wrapped inside a wallet, which I think is really cool because then that wallet then leads on to like a platform and dashboard for other things. But then seeing that and then watching it evolve in like a month and a half to the version 2, that's insane. Like you guys just re-engineered the entire dashboard and interface of the DEX to go from V1 to V2. So it's a standalone DEX within like a month and a bit. So to see that much amount of development and evolution of the product alone in such a short time frame just goes to show the experience that the team already has.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny our development capability, right? I mean, powered by Vacuum Labs is sort of the thing that we use. And what that really means is, you know, a lot of the projects that bought like hardware wallets to Cardano, that was our dev team, right? Or some of those guys are the same guys, right? And then when you look at some of the work that was done on like Yori wallet and stuff like that, version 1, right? These guys have been in wallets on Cardano. It's past 4 years now. Right. I remember January or February was the 4th year anniversary that they had been working Cardano, which is pretty much the life cycle of Cardano. Right. So, they've been developing. So if you look at areas like wallets, especially, but generally Cardano as a whole, but wallets especially, there's very few teams. Like I'm sure Emergo has a team and they just work on their wallet. Right. But in terms of teams that have worked on multiple wallet projects, have seen like under the hood on a number of different wallets, especially hardware wallets and stuff like that, I don't really think that there's the same level of capability and depth out there.
Yeah. And on that, basically, I mean, you mentioned the NuFi wallet. I mean, that's really kind of another sort of, if you like, way we're trying to establish ourselves in the Cardano ecosystem is by being a, essential infrastructure piece, say for any dApp or wallet that wants to integrate, because for the audience who might not know about it, essentially, so what we actually ended up doing is putting the WingRiders within the interface of NuFi, so you can access WingRiders through NuFi, which is different obviously to our mainnet, and you can access it directly. But this is just to demonstrate also what we're trying to do in the ecosystem is become that, essential, if you like, infrastructure piece that can be integrated into any, obviously I mentioned wallets and dApps, but any project realistically that needs a swap capability.
Now, in terms of the DEX itself, there are quite a few unique features on the DEX that I haven't seen anywhere else in the Cardano ecosystem. Can you guys talk through a few of these like very unique features that the DEX has compared to what's out there at the moment?
Sure, I can talk about a few of the things. One of the things I think is token-to-token swaps. Native Cardano to Cardano swaps. I haven't seen around essentially. So we give that capability. So where what that actually means is you can swap your say MELD directly to Hosky, if you like, without going through ADA. By that, obviously you save fees, and obviously that nice capability of being able to swap without going through an intermediary, if you like, crypto, is quite useful. Another, I think, what we like to think is a USP is the auto staking we do. So obviously, when you give liquidity into a pool where one of the pairs is obviously ADA, that ADA gets auto staked into a staking pool, and you get the returns for that. And also, obviously, the liquidity that you provided provides you with the share of the fees equivalent to obviously how much liquidity you provided into that pool, that's, I think, another feature that kind of hopefully stands out. A really good one is the hardware wallet integration. Obviously, this is something that you may have seen, and the viewers may have seen on the videos we recently released, whereby you can have a direct integration with your ledger onto the DApp. Or even better, you're off to Cairo, you're visiting the Sphinx, and you got your Android phone. You can stick your ledger into that and literally start trading, because it works seamlessly with the ledger directly again into the app. Now, direct integration, obviously, we find is quite important, because it gets rid of a third layer, if you like, between these two layers that may cause vulnerability. That's not to say they do or they are vulnerable, but again, it's just one layer less, and always directly connecting any kind of hardware wallet we think is good. We believe also the Trezor update is coming very soon. It should be coming any day now, and that will also be integrated into the DEX. What else can we say? I think stablecoins. We were the first, again, to bring stablecoins, wrap stablecoins, USDC, USDT, onto Cardano. I think that's a big deal, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Before this, realistically on Cardano, if you're into Cardano native tokens and you're swapping, trading them, doing whatever, you have no safe haven. And as we've seen recently with the market plummeting, at a very fast pace, the problem is that what do you do? You go into Husky, you go to Bell, you go into Liquid, you go to all of them. Unfortunately, the whole market's plummeting. And what stablecoins enable, obviously, any trader or any investor to do is essentially lock in profits, stay there, hopefully get a better entry if you want to go back in there, or just lock in your profits or make less losses. And that's a big deal. That is a very big deal. And myself, coming from a trading background and kind of portfolio management, the stable coins, I think, are really good. And it's good to hear that, there's other projects, like DJED, who are also going to be launching. We encourage all of these because it's really good for the community as a whole. And finally, obviously, we had no exposure to Ether or Bitcoin as well. So we've got the wrap version of that, which obviously through our partnership with Melcomeda and through the Nomad Bridge, this has all been enabled, and it's a big deal, I think. And we like to think of those as things that we've hopefully contributed to the community.
If you go back to Ethereum, right, like post the bull run 2018, when Tether and then other stablecoins slowly came out, they bought massive amounts of liquidity, right? Because that was an easy way for people to come in, right? If you had your credit card and you did a purchase through Binance, you could buy into stables and then you could go and buy your first Bitcoin or whatever. So bringing those to Cardano, it's probably not the right time going into nuclear winter, but that does bring this opportunity for liquidity to come in and out, right? The shorter the number of steps that people need to get into Cardano, the more liquidity and the more volume there'll be on the blockchain.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing in that liquidity is key onto the various DEXs in the ecosystem. So I'll just step back and just go through this massive list of unique features that you guys have brought to the ecosystem. So first of all, that any token to any token swap, that is absolutely awesome, because there are so many times when I'm harvesting yield from like a MinSwap or Sunday Swap, and I want to move directly into a different project. And having to step through or back to ADA and then ADA back to the new token just costs me fees. So, I'm
absolutely
trading fees along the way. So reducing those steps, absolutely amazing. So that's fantastic. And then just to clarify with the staking, that's ADA staking, as in the regular stake pools that we have in the ecosystem. Yep. So that's a really cool feature. So we're earning ADA rewards and liquidity pool fee rewards at the same time.
Yeah.
Double dipping.
Absolutely, double dipping.
Cool.
That's a brilliant way to talk about it.
If we can figure out sorry, mate. If we can figure out triple dipping, we'll definitely bring it to the community, right?
Yeah.
I think we have that, actually. I will explain that a little bit later. But just on staking, just to clarify, okay? Like what we're aiming for, this was again a trial, and later on, what's going to open up is that you will each pool will have the ability to vote which stake pools they want to put the, if you like, ADA of that pool into, and that's a feature that is not live at the moment. Just to be clear, it will be live. But irrespective of that, at the moment, when you do put your ADA, as you rightly said, yes, you do have you do get a portion of those, if you like, staking rewards that come into the pool, and as a portion of your LPTs, obviously you get that reward. So it's not like doing it on a wallet where obviously that reward goes directly into it. The rewards come into the, if you like, liquidity pool, and then you can withdraw a portion of that. So essentially increasing your LPTs by the value of that in proportion, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. It does make sense. So when you're in a LP and you're getting the rewards from that, from yield farming, whatever it is, it's usually paid out in the native token of that DEX. In this case, it's a WingRiders token, the WRT. So that means staking to the ADA that is staked in the stake pool.
No, sorry, I have to step in. So it's not paid in WRT. So, okay, let me run it quite simply. So the ADA is put, so you've provided liquidity via ADA meld, let's say, into a liquidity pool. That ADA is staked, and the rewards from that ADA are put back into the pool. And as a part of your LPT tokens, obviously, liquidity provider tokens, not WRT tokens, just to be clear, you get a portion of that, okay? So essentially your LPT tokens increase. You don't get WRT rewards, just to be clear. I think you meant that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't actually. I meant the other one, which I got totally wrong. So I'm glad you clarified that. So I get more LP tokens in general.
Yeah. Yep, you get your cool. LPTs, increase in value. Absolutely.
Okay. That's almost like auto compounding rewards directly into it, but the rewards are coming from the staked ADA. So that's really cool. That's a really cool mechanism.
Yeah. And obviously, what Liam was saying, double dipping. Oh, yeah, you said that double dipping. You can actually do triple dipping. You take your LPTs, you take it to a farm, and then you've just triple dipped.
Okay, all right, okay. I have some maintenance to do here to make sure that's all working.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, that's a cool little tip. If no one's yield farming on there, then make sure that's put in place so you can actually get those extra little bits. So
absolutely.
And then you mentioned the hardware wallet. Absolutely fantastic. Like, it's probably the most secure way to store your crypto. So, hardware wallet, definitely. And then I didn't realize that, or didn't think about, the third layer of the wallet being a possible attack vector or possible vulnerability. So that, taking that out of the equation, you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I wouldn't stress about it, right? Like, if you're dealing with a really professionally put together wallet, there's only one or two that people are using right at the moment anyway. Typhoon comes to mind, right? But like, their code base is good, right? So it's not like there's massive exploits, but we're just talking about stack layers of complexity, right? That's pretty much it, right? If there's three steps versus two, if you're using that Typhoon approach, then you're probably super secure, right?
Yeah.
But if you keep your crypto on a ledger, and then I think in a week and a half on a Trezor, I'm really looking forward to Trezor because I'm old school. I've got a shoebox with about 5 Trezors in it.
All right.
So for me, like that's really good, right? I don't have an Android phone. I do have an old one around the house somewhere, but it's probably not a bad idea that I set it up for my I could use it for my crypto, right? Just doesn't have any emails or anything on it. So that's pretty cool. You can do it direct from your Android phone, from your ledger at the moment. So that's pretty safe and secure and convenient.
And the other thing I was going to say about the wrapped assets, it's absolutely crucial. And having those USD stable coins, as you said, Kaaran, coming into the platform really gave a lot more opportunities to people for trading on the actual DEX itself. Now, there was one thing that came up during the just after the launch, the attractiveness of getting these USD stablecoins was really, really high. And I heard, I didn't see it myself, but I heard
victims of our own success, bro. That's what we were.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going. I think we published the blog, but I will explain.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So essentially, it was depegged, right? Yep.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So let me just kind of start.
It's topical right now, right? Because now stables are depegged the other way.
Yeah.
Essentially, the way kind of bringing stable coins or any wrapped assets onto Cardano works currently, and the way we did it was through obviously Milkomeda, which is an EVM chain, layer 2 EVM chain with EVM capabilities, and essentially using the Nomad bridge, you bring those assets into Milkomeda, and then they kind of get locked on this side, and then through say the Flint wallet, they get passed over to the other side. Now that's all quite straightforward, right? But what happens when the bridge is closed? What happens that the public can't actually access the bridge? And unfortunately, that's what happened. We brought that liquidity on in sort of, to obviously seed the pools, and that liquidity was put into those pools. But unfortunately, due to circumstances, the public side of the bridge, which should have been open at the same time we were anticipating, wasn't open. And what happens there? Obviously, you'll get destabilization of the price without opportunities, because arbitrages obviously usually balance the price in any kind of pool. And that opportunity wasn't there, and unfortunately, it got depegged. We hope we addressed it in the right way by obviously explaining to the community, and later on, obviously remunerating those few. Actually, there weren't many who were obviously kind of affected by it, and everything is fine now. But there weren't that many affected by it directly, and we made announcements as soon as we found out, obviously, that these people were affected, and we did actually remunerate them for that.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what Kaaran said, when we went live, we were waiting, right? And we were getting a reasonable amount of pressure from our community about like, hey, when are you guys going live? Your sale's supposed to be Q1, all that. Like this was, March. So essentially, then we get into April, and we were like ready to go technically. But we were waiting for a couple of partners, and I'm not pointing fingers, but one of the partners we were waiting for to get their code up to scratch and ready to go was Milkomeda, right? And we wanted to go because we really wanted to go with stable coins because we thought that would get people super interested. So we wanted to make a bang when we launched. So we were waiting for them for a while, and then they finished and they were like, let's go. And then they went, but they technically were still in a testing phase where they were allowing institutions to move money through, right? It wasn't open for retail. So big tickets could come through, like people who are providing liquidity, stuff like that, us, right? So then what happened is then everyone went crazy for these assets, and they went in and they started buying them, and it was like $1.02, $1.04, up to like $1.10. I think it got a little bit over $1.10 at one point, but we didn't actually think that many people would buy stable coins at a loss, right? But people were just crazy to get them. Thankfully, it wasn't that long, right? The Milkomeda guys just wanted to do extra round of testing, which you can't fault them for, right? So once that was done and the retail piece open, and for Kaaran's point, from memory, I think it was 24 total guys, right? Not a huge number. And I think actually in the end, with a couple of those guys to pull money out anyway, so we didn't actually have to remunerate them. So it wasn't that many, and we reached out to all those guys and we made it right. But it was just, it's crypto, new stuff gets people excited. Sometimes that irrational exuberance makes people make poor swaps decisions.
But also, I mean, another thing I can add to that, Pete, is that essentially, it's software at the end of the day. Yeah, there are no fixed deadlines. When you get into that space, I mean, okay, if you're looking from the outside in, you think, oh well, software should be working. You look at your Apple phone, or the apps work perfectly, blah blah blah. But look, every time there's an update, every time, as soon as you don't put that update, something can go wrong. So this is just the process of software development. And at the end of the day, crypto, we talk about coins and tokens and currencies, but it's software, and these things do happen. And I think the only thing you can do as a bastion of that is try to do the right thing if someone is, for instance, makes a loss or something. And we hope we've done that, and luckily, as Liam said, there were only 24 people, and everyone was informed and sort of compensated appropriately, obviously.
Yeah, just try and be transparent, right? Like if there is something like that when you make the plan, there's that old saying, plan only survives till the start of the battle, right? So you have a plan, right? We're going to have the bridge coming in. It's all going to be cool. And then, some things don't work out. Some things change. As long as you're transparent, that's sort of my philosophy. And I hope it's sort of proven out over my time in crypto, right? Like if you make a mistake, You just communicate as quickly as you can, as transparently as you can. You explain what happened. And I think ultimately, our community was pretty happy about the situation in hand. I think those 24 guys probably had a moment of hating our guts, but it's all good now.
I guess, you are depending on so many moving parts and third-party services to get, your own software product working. So when you're depending on other things and, it doesn't work, it's out of your control. It's not much you can do about it. But, owning the issue and dealing with it is probably the best thing that you guys could have done to ensure that the community is still on side and still happy overall with the general experience. So that's very well handled.
On a funnier note, by the way, Pete, I heard this comment basically from saying this is like mad, crazy. Why are you calling it mad and crazy? It's actually, you guys, mad is nomad, using the nomad bridge. So we haven't called it some silly name. Yeah, it's actually short for nomad. Yeah, not crazy USD. Okay, so just for clarification purposes.
I actually didn't know that either, so it's good that you clarified that.
Okay. No worries, man.
So how was the launch overall? Because you guys did a very stealthy launch as well. It's so I was literally launching a podcast episode and in the live chat, and then suddenly someone tags me, hey Pete, check out the WingRiders Discord. They're launching in stealth, and I was madly trying to jump on to do the first video for it. So how did the launch go in general?
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but it sort of leads back to what Kaaran said before about our philosophy, right? We actually sort of talked about that back in January, February. We didn't want to go, oh, crazy, let's run digital ads and do a press release like we're launching Monday, 9:00. We were like, let's just get the platform out, right? We're fairly confident. The audit's done. We've double tested, triple tested. The code is good, but you never know. Like you said, there's a lot of moving parts, and we were like, let's just set it up and we'll let people know it's up and running and on Discord, and we'll let it run for a day or two, and then we'll make an announcement. And so
see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want to be in a situation where there's been plenty of people who overhype, right?
Yeah.
And you overhype, and then something goes wrong outside of your control, and then you've got to backpedal, and you've damaged your brand or your image with the community, and you have to sort of do some repair work. So we were just let's just get out. I mean, to answer your original question, it's gone really well.
Good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the stealth launch was the same as our coming out of stealth back in December, right? So that's pretty much par for course. You should have probably predicted that about us. But we're out. The community's pretty active. There's a lot of swaps going on. TVL is good. We've done a bunch of feature upgrades over time, adding stuff over time. It's working pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. Just add that there's constantly going to be new features that come on. So the mainnet launch went okay. It was over now, so we're into the next phase now. What's next? That's probably your end question. I don't know, but realistically, we've got a multitude of wallets. Watch this space, okay? We're going to integrate many more wallets, and watch this space very soon. We're going to have more announcements, yeah? We're going to have more partnerships. We're going to have more features, and that's really, I think, what we're concentrating on now. Bugs, things going wrong. I think we've all explained this now. This is software. This is crypto. This is crazy marketplace we work in. Yeah. Please, for the uninitiated, forgive us. We are trying our best. We are here to serve you and serve you as best we can. But unfortunately, there are glitches at times, and I think that's important to also highlight the human side of it. We are humans. We're not some anonymous group or DEX that no one's seen. We are actually working for this company. We are on a day-to-day basis. I can tell you for Liam and myself and the rest of the team, we're working 7 days a week because it's a passion, one, but also it's necessary because we don't, a DEX doesn't have a weekend. It doesn't rest for the weekend. We're in a 24-hour.
No, I mean, it's interesting, right? We launched our whitelist on the weekend, and one of our guys on the business side was had some stuff on this week. So he's like, I'm not going to be able to be on Discord over the weekend, right? Are we good? And I was like, yeah, we'll get it done. And he's like, well, are you sure? Because there's not that many of you. And I was like, we'll get it done. We'll be fine. I mean, there was about 20 hours where I think I was on Discord for about 16 of them, right? And then come like Tuesday morning, I felt really average and I put my head down for a little bit and I think I slept for like 4 hours in the middle of the day. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta be passionate. You gotta believe in it. That's the first thing. And Cardano DEX is like one of the pointiest ends of crypto right now. There are 20, I think it's still 20, tentatively 20 projects working in the space, right? So if you're first, you're not first for long, right? Look at stables as an example.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is considered because like a technical fix for some things can be quite hard, but a technical fix for something like stables actually is not that hard, right? Once somebody realizes how to do it, it's relatively easy for them to pursue that and go and figure it out and do that, right? And you're not talking weeks and weeks and weeks. You're talking potentially a week, maybe two, right? So there's a lot of competition in this Cardano DEX space, which is good ultimately for the users, right? The community. But because we are all moving really fast, and it's, it's competition, good competition is healthy, right? But, there's always going to be the desire to be first with a new feature, right? If you're not going to be first, then you can be second, but you want to be doing it better than the other guy, right? So you want to measure twice and cut once, right? So it's a competitive area. We're moving really fast. Our competitors are all moving really fast. Like MinSwap's done an awesome job, right? Sunday's done a good job. Muesli's coming along. And then, we do a chat, Kaaran and I and the guys, actually today, Wednesday, we do a chat every week about what's happening in the market. There's more guys coming up, right? There's more guys coming up. So this is just the market. This is the space we're in, right?
I think what Liv's trying to say is, I think Nike said it, there is no finish line, essentially. There is no finish. It's a continuous, and, I think the projects that will survive at the end are the ones that are seriously looking to better themselves and improve, and for the users realistically benefit. And that's it. I think that sums it up, really.
Very much so. Now, one of the key things for any DEX is liquidity. And, the more liquidity that you bring in, like you guys now are in position 2, according to DeFi Llama in terms of TVL, which is absolutely amazing. Coming in like late in the game compared to the competitors, but, moving up the ranks so very quickly. So, congratulations to you guys. But how are you going to bring in more liquidity to the DEX? I know you have these stable coins and opening it up to, different markets to be able to come in. But what other ways are you guys trying to bring in liquidity?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the first part of this and I'll throw it to Kaaran because I'm sure he's got thoughts. For us, we're a little bit different maybe than some of the other guys. Just in our branding and our approach. I mean, we always say this, right? I say it all the time. We've got like a developer-based mindset, right? Yeah. We don't like to say, oh, this is coming next Tuesday if we're not 100% sure that it's like done and we can launch it on Tuesday. That probably makes us slightly more attractive to institutions, right? Just in terms of if you're going to put $10 million on a DEX platform on Cardano, who are you going to be attracted to, right? Are you going to be attracted to a bunch of guys who you don't know who any of their team are, or are you going to be the guys who, constantly like our developers, it's like Charles Darwin's like evolutionary steps in there, right? They're pretty competitive internally, right? If they find mistakes on each other, they'll like grill each other pretty badly. So the product that we put out is
that's well, where's the cohesive team?
They're super nice together, but they are competitive, right? Okay. They are like legit coders, and they like to do stuff that makes other coders look at it and go, "That's good code," right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, from the point of view, if you're an institution, you're looking at this space and you want to put some money on a DEX, like we might be more attractive, right? Yeah. What does that probably mean longer term? Well, we weren't first to market. If you look at our launch, right? We weren't first to market. So there might be other people who move faster than us to deliver like retail features. We hope not. And we hope that we can keep up and we're still being at the forefront. But by sort of really being rigorous in our approach, as more liquidity comes in from institutions, and because we've sort of taken this infrastructure approach and we can plug into other dApps, I mean, you never know, but in 6 months, someone could launch some crazy dApp on Cardano that needs a swap function for one really basic fundamental function of the process, right? Swapping in and out of their tokens, whatever. And they could integrate with us because we've done a deep integration with NuFi, right? So we could do the same for them, which is not something that the other exchanges have done yet. So if that was the case, then that could be a whole new source of liquidity for us. Right. So we're thinking a bit longer term strategically in that regard, rather than just like, let's capture all the retail TVL. We obviously want all the retail TVL. I mean, we're not competitive. We're competitive, right? We want it all. Yeah. But, healthy competition doesn't scare us. But the institutional piece, that's a piece that we see interesting over the next, 12, 24, 36 months. Kaaran, you got something you want to add?
What can I add to that, really? I mean, you kind of covered it. Yeah. So, okay. Why? Let's tackle the question of why does liquidity come into a DEX or any DeFi protocol for that matter? Realistically, it's first of all what Liam was saying, I think, and I'll just add a little bit to that to say it's that security that my money is going to be safe, right? We've seen vulnerabilities happen. Money can disappear, hundreds of millions and billions can disappear like that if that platform isn't safe. So that's our first goal, to make sure we have a platform that is safe, functional for liquidity providers. Then obviously, why does a liquidity provider provide liquidity? They provide liquidity for rewards, right? So one way or another, gains, okay? So it's a matter of being progressive about that. Now, in terms of kind of how you structure that, there's different ways. So for instance, one of the ways we try to incentivize obviously liquidity is by staking liquidity providers ADA to give them more returns, and hopefully that will encourage it. But again, what Liam said, I think, is quite important as well in terms of kind of, if you like, the institutional investors. And sometimes we, in the crypto space, and, we're all cypherpunks at heart, but realistically, it's not a bad thing to have big money come into it if they play fair and play by the rules, and realistically, those are the guys who will be providing that liquidity to give that stability to a lot of DeFi protocols in the end. If you've got a DeFi protocol that's the best and it's got 200,000, for instance, that's no good. It's not going to function. It's not going to work. Yeah. But then you've got an institution that comes in because of that platform and provides 30 million worth in a pool, and bang, you got some trading pair that can work or essentially on the DEX. You can trade it, swap it, whatever. And you can also learn liquidity kind of rewards. So realistically, that's the other way we think about it, is to provide options for liquidity providers to obviously gain more than others. And there's lots of other developments in the pipeline. Some of them we've talked about. The other thing I like to just highlight, which isn't directly related to your question, but it's a liquidity fatigue. Where do liquidity providers go now? And I think the first question I would ask if I had 100 grand of liquidity to provide is go to the safest provider, realistically, because however good returns are, I don't know if you've participated in DeFi too. I have Olympus, kind of various Olympus, if you like, forex, etc., are promising very high returns. And I just dipped a little bit of money just to see how quickly I would lose it. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly, when you get like 15 zeros in an API, guess what? You're going to lose it. So don't chase API just for the sakes of API. Look at the fundamentals. Look at the team behind the DEX. Look at the team behind the protocol. Look at the infrastructure behind the protocol that you're going to be putting your money into. And if someone's saying you're going to get 2 million% and everyone else in that market is giving you 2,000% API, for instance, for that liquidity, guess what? There could be something wrong.
Yeah, I was talking about this the other day. Another area of crypto that I keep an eye on is like play to earn gaming, right? And NFTs, blockchain gaming. And you look at Axie Infinity, right? They were like huge. They got a valuation of 7 billion, but they exploded their own economy, right? It just, sometimes there's a serious economist or someone who thinks about money in a strategic way, finance guy, private equity guy. Some of these protocols, the rewards mechanism is not built for long term, right? Yeah. And so you've got to sort of think about that. I mean, obviously, we're going into nuclear winter, right? It's a bear market now, right? But you can still keep stacking sats, right? To use the old Bitcoin analogy, right? You can still keep stacking. So obviously, for retail guys, rewards is going to drive liquidity. The more the rewards, that's where they're going to go, So we're aware of that, right? We think about it all the time. Kaaran and I just had a robust conversation about it like 45 minutes ago.
That's interesting, because I was just going to add to that, Liam. Actually, yeah, this is it. It's just a little bit off liquidity, but realistically, look, DeFi probably has a better chance of survival in a nuclear winter, right? Why? Because you are, as you said, stacking your sats, which I hadn't heard for a long time, man. I like it. So absolutely, like trading is risky, okay? Unless you're really good at shorting and you really know what you're doing, it's really risky. And none of this is financial advice, by the way. This is just personal experiences and what we see in the environment and what will probably survive. But DeFi, what does DeFi give us? DeFi gives the ability to accumulate tokens and coins. And what's that good for? I don't know, I had 100,000, 2 million, whatever, ADA, stick them in, stake them. Yeah, I've got other tokens, basically provide liquidity, take your LPTs, do some farming. Guess what? Just sit back, relax. This will be over. If you believe in the cyclical nature of this market, the 4-year cycle, however you see it, a lot of people were talking about super cycles when we were on the bull market again. I was just telling my friends and family, like, forget about it. This is going to do what it did last time. Maybe it does it in a different way. And we will maybe break out of this one day, but DeFi, DEXs, WingRiders, we're there to essentially, if you like, be that bridge in these times where you can put your stack, where you can essentially earn, if you like, gain, if you like, more of that stack whilst this nuclear winter ends. And then hopefully when we're back in the growth phase, guess what? Your 100,000 is now 200,000 or whatever it is. I'm not saying an exact figure. This is just a figure of speech, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean, if you go back to the 2018 bull market, right, the ICO boom, crypto VCs did well. They knew 70% of the projects they backed were going to tank, right? They knew, but they knew that the 30% that weren't were going to make them enough money to be able to afford to spend money on 70 that didn't. Like DEXs, in a way, allow each of us, retail trader, to kind of become our own little mini VC, right? You stack, and then you go, I'm going to try some meld. I don't really hold any, but I'm going to do a swap and I'll hold some of them, right? And then you just have a small bag of them, and then you try and you can diversify to something else. I mean, you can do it on a centralized exchange as well, I guess, but a lot of those centralized exchanges, don't cater to all the tokens you might be interested in, and you have to go on DEXs at some point. So, not financial advice. As I said at the beginning of this,
apologies to Pete, but Liam, we have to apologize to Pete. We're not giving him a chance, really. I mean, we're really passionate about this.
You guys are having a great conversation here.
But we're passionate. I love this field. I love what it kind of gives to the normal person, like myself, for instance. And when I discovered it, that hey, I can trade. In my day, I'm not going to tell you my age, but being a stockbroker was like the ultimate kind of high. You get a big bonus and you get a big fat wage. And now everyone can do that. I'm not saying go out and do that, but I'm just saying you have the capability to take your destiny into your own hands with all the opportunities that are really presented within this fantastic space that we all work in.
We most definitely do have a lot of opportunities at the moment. And overall, from what I got from this conversation so far, is that everyone wants to get more gain. So stacking their sats, as you said, and do it securely as possible. And I'd just like to mention a couple of things. So you guys, so the Vacuum Labs teams or WingRiders team did find that vulnerability in the MinSwap DEX. So thank you. Like you saved, countless millions of assets there. And you also talked a little bit about VC funding and having VCs come into and provide liquidity for the WingRiders DEX. So it sounds like that's your main gameplay. That's where you're going to try and get majority of the liquidity from. So
I disagree with that.
Not necessarily. No, not at all.
Okay. We want to own the retail pie, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
But for us, we just think that as market, if you look at Ethereum now, how much Ethereum is held by institutions like VCs, little family offices and all that, right? Cardano is not there yet, but it is the most developed on blockchain over the last 12 months, right?
Yep.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Okay, a lot of people are starting to look at it. It's starting to go like, okay, maybe they didn't make some of the early mistakes that proof of work did on Ethereum. So what are we going to do there, right? So there's going to be movement in this space. As this space gets more mature, there's going to be movement. And if those guys come, they're obviously going to look for a certain type of platform to use. But the retail piece is really important to us, for sure. Our philosophy is a little bit different than maybe some of the other platforms. We think having a really engaged core of users, right? You don't have to have 200,000 people in your Telegram, right? You don't, because most of those people are bots anyway, right? Yep. If you have 25, 26, 27,000, 30,000, like really switched on people who have good conversations, like that's enough that you can mobilize them, right? You can put out a call. These are our new functions and features. These are the new pools, right? People will come. If you try and keep that core like engaged and engage with a project, then they will bring in other people, right? Your community is your biggest brand ambassadors.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to provide what they want, right? For sure.
Definitely.
Can I just add to that piece as well? It's not about VCs or retail. It's not about. But imagine anyone can start a pool, right? You can put $10 and split it and make a pool, right, into two different assets or whatever. Yeah. But what happens to that pool? Has it got any functionality? If you go and trade that asset or those assets or swap between them, what happens? You're going to get the worst slippage in the world. You're not going to be able to trade out of it. So you need someone to seed it. So essentially, we go back to the functionality of a DEX. Why does a DEX operate really well? By having really deep pools that essentially when people trade into them, the price movement, if you like, of those assets is minuscule, if you like, in terms of what we're talking about. And that's why I think bigger investors, we won't say VCs, bigger investors, as I said, I've been in this kind of area of investment, if you like, advice and management for many, many years. And I still dabble in that area. And without kind of having even like if you like, an angel investor or in any business, you can't get that off the ground. And who does that benefit at the end of the day? Of course, it benefits the person who put money in, but does it benefit them more? No, it doesn't, because everyone gets the same proportion of the liquidity they provide into a pool as a portion of what they put into it, right? Yeah. So they don't get any extra preferential treatment. So that's what I just wanted to highlight.
Cool. Totally understand. All right. So now I'd want to talk a little bit about some more technical aspects of the DEX itself. And one of them is around the agents that you guys use. So agents in other DEXs, in SundaeSwap, they're called scoopers. In other ones are called batches. So these are the ones that group together transactions on the DEX and then processes them and distributes them accordingly. So in your DEX, you're using agents at the moment. That's terminology that you guys are using. How is this set up at the moment? I've been told that it's all being controlled by the WingRiders team at the moment. Can you clarify and talk a little bit about that and what the future plans for it will be?
Sure. Yeah. As you mentioned it, okay, I think it's good to just jump up one level first. Yeah. What are we talking about here? So essentially, what happens in a DEX, various types of requests are put in. So when you go for a swap, that's essentially, you hit that confirm button, you are essentially putting a request. Those requests, there'll be multiple requests that will be put in at any one time. And essentially, in order to ease the load, if you like, and make transactions faster, various projects use various types of batching models, as you mentioned, to put these, if you like, various types of requests into one transaction output, okay? And that's what an agent does. An agent batches these different requests ready for output. So our model, absolutely, people call them different things. There are various types of, if you like, batching models. But we've chosen the batching model, and as you said, currently we manage it because realistically, before you can decentralize a batching model, you have to, again, thoroughly test it to make sure it works correctly. And our plans are realistically to open this up to a much bigger, if you like, audience and become totally decentralized. So anyone in the future can become a batcher. And that's the plan. So in brief, that's kind of what we're planning to do, etc.
From our side, you want to be decentralized, but then your batches or your agents, right, are run by you, or they're run by very big whales, right? That's clearly a bottleneck in the entire sort of decentralized thing. For us, WingRiders runs on a fairly thin client, right? Our tech team spends a lot of time, trying to minimize the impact of like transactions, requests. So when you talk about batches, each transaction, each swap request, whatever it is, has a certain amount of memory, right, that it takes up. Then you've got to optimize those. Then they get put into a batch and they get pushed through. That throughput piece is very important, and our guys spend a lot of time on it, right? That's the first thing. Once that's really well tested, then the next thing, when we open it up to anyone being an agent, we really want to be sure that there's not an opportunity to game the system, right? Like that you can't stack the transactions in a way that are beneficial to you. Maybe you get the first transaction in a pool. So when the volumes are moving, you get that first transaction, so you get the best price. So our smart contracts are really built and designed not to do that, right? But right now we're testing them. And, I think the community, if nothing else, can sort of admit that we apparently test our stuff pretty well. So right now that's where we are. Our plan is to fully decentralize, right? Eventually it'll probably start with early riders, right? The guys who have been with us longer, our older community, the ones who supported us for longer. We'll open it up on a limited level, and then we'll open it up more and more. But yeah, our aim is that anyone who's essentially using the platform can become an agent.
Now, for a lot of the early adopters as well, I heard that you guys did some sort of a NFT drop or a fungible token drop, something kind of weird and quirky there. I completely missed this announcement, but some other people were telling me that, you guys were doing it and, check your wallets and stuff. Can you talk about what on earth happened? Because I completely missed this announcement.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're partnered with an NFT platform, right? If you're in the exchange, you're in the dashboard, you can go over and you can click on that, and that will take you to our partner. So that's the first thing. So very early stages, we really wanted to thank all the guys who supported us for what we call the Inception Farming Epoch, the IFE, which is our first slightly long, I think it was 8 days, right? It might have been 10 days. Excuse me, I might have made a mistake. But so that initial epoch for us was a little bit longer, and so we worked out rewards that we thought would help everybody. But then there was certain, if you put $1,000 down or 1,000 ADA in liquidity, we wanted to reward you. You earned some rewards, but we decided that we would drop out an NFT. So it wasn't an NFT; it was a fungible token, but it's like a limited edition. So there was a bronze. If you put in a certain amount of liquidity, there was a silver, and there was a gold. Right? These are going to provide a little bit of utility on the platform. I won't give away all the details. But
come on, Liam.
No, I mean, we've set it up such a way. We've got a little bit of flack from the community because people are like, why can't I sell these? Or why, if I'm selling them, is there such a high commission on them? Because we kind of don't want you to sell them, right? These are like rewards for our loyal early users. When the utility comes out, people will be like, okay, now this looks like a bit better. This looks a bit interesting. But, it's crypto. People will sell the kitchen sink if it's not bolted down, right? They'll be like, let's flip this. Maybe I can make a bit of money, turn into some ADA. Maybe I can buy some Bitcoin. So, there was a bit of a desire for people to sell them without actually knowing what they're doing. So we're trying to disincentivize that. Yeah. But this is not going to be the only one of these we do. I think some of our older community members know that our rider, so the character who's on a lot of our logos and stuff, he's called the rider, but he's not alone. There's like other characters, right? And so as we sort of roll them out, we'll probably roll them out around upgrades to functionality in the coming months, right? As we add more pools or something, we might bring one of these guys out. And I would imagine around that, we'll probably do more of these fungible token drops, potentially an NFT drop. Ultimately, we're a DeFi platform, and we want to provide everything that kind of happens in DeFi, whether that's NFTs or whatever. We want to be able to provide, some access to that, some ability to swap that. So, we're sort of building out our own ecosystem and diversifying a little bit.
Very cool. Like some people would want to sell it, like if there's some desirability behind it. And if someone's their daily wage might be 10 USD. And if they're selling for 100, that's a huge gain for them. So I can see why some people will want to sell it, especially if they got airdropped to them. So,
we're not stopping you.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, you might find it useful. You might find it useful. That's all we're saying.
Okay. All right. Now, along with that, you also have a token generation event happening. And you did mention it before with this whole whitelisting thing that you had to be awake for 24 hours, essentially over the weekend to get things done. Can you talk a little bit about this? I've gone through the whitelisting process, and I think I'm whitelisted, except for a little clause in there that says Australians can't participate. What's the deal?
Yeah. Okay.
You're Australian, Liam. Come on.
Tell me
You're
about
both
it, mate.
Australian as well.
Tell me about it.
Okay.
Tell me about it. Okay. So first things first. Yeah. So we've got a TGE coming up, right? So we were never raising crazy money, right? We're really financially disciplined, right? In terms of the burn rate, in terms of how we're building out the team, in terms of what our long-term viability is. We're very across those. So we raised some money in our seed and privates. Then we were just going to do the standard IDO platform, right? Same as everyone else was doing, do a launch pad, maybe do a couple. We got, Sunday to a certain extent, and like, I'm not saying anything negative about Sunday, but like they were the first and like they got a little bit burnt, right? Like the card starter thing, all that sort of stuff. So we just were like, whoa, because we were like, honestly, card starter was on the list of guys that we were going to work with, right? So then we just got like a bit nervous, and then we sort of were like, well, we're not doing it this month. So maybe like, let's do some pre-DAO voting in the Discord, right? And then we asked the community and we said like, what do you want to do? And the conversation was like fierce. It was by far our like most voted on question.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Lots of people wanted IDO platforms, right? And a lot of people suggested specific IDO platforms. Now, obviously, we took on board all of the stuff they said, but we can't, if they suggest 20 platforms, we can't go with 20 platforms, right? Like it's not feasible. But we listened to what everyone said. We looked at the votes, and then we said, okay, so that clearly seems like IDO, especially the bigger, more reputable platforms, that seems to be a way to go, right? And people recommended some. And then the second thing was a really big vocal position of the community. We're like, don't use IDO platforms. We'd rather go direct to you, right? Which we had, to be honest, we had at that stage that came up, we had never considered doing, right? So then back to our thinking and our philosophy, we're developer-led mindset. So, okay, if we are going to do it ourselves, like what are all the things and what are all the dependencies and what are the risks? So then we looked at it from a technical perspective. Okay, KYC, that all needs to be done, right? If we're doing that ourselves, what are the requirements? We need to talk to a lawyer, right? We need to make sure that we're aligned there. Okay, what are the things that it's not just as easy as building a website and like banging out a smart contract. Like obviously smart contracts fall over all the time. So that's another piece of testing. So we sort of built through all this. Ultimately, where we got to was we're still going to do an IDO on some IDO platforms. There's 3. I'm not going to give you the names yet, but we're getting closer.
Come on, Liam.
I have just revealed 3.
You
3 is exclusive.
You got the first scoop. You got a scoop there.
There's 3 platforms, okay?
3 Cardano ones?
I'm not going to give away too much information. I'm just going to say wrapped assets. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then we're going to do some direct sale. And the first piece of that is around our whitelist, right? This is a way that people can get access to guaranteed allocation of tokens, and the allocations aren't big, right? 2, 4, 800, right? The reason is we would rather have 10,000 guys own $800 of our token than one guy own $8 million of our token, right?
True.
Because we're trying to build a community. So, okay, you can go and take part in the public sale, right? And you can buy 2,000. That's fine. But you can guarantee yourself an allocation. So the whitelist is happening now. It's been open for like 2 days, European time, 3 days here in Australia. Like the numbers are pretty good. Even in a bear market, we're doing all right. Your numbers are closing. Like a couple hundred people have gone through. It's running a little bit hotter than we expected. There's still places open. It's not cut off, but it's going pretty well. We're pretty happy. Ultimately, this guarantees you an allocation, right? You're not going to come in and make $1 million on your $800 worth of tokens, but we feel pretty positive about our token price. Some people are like arguing with us about how we've priced our token, and they're comparing us to like Sunday and stuff like that. It's very important to realize that we have 1/50th the amount of tokens as some of our competitors. Not 1/5, not 20%, 2%, right? We have a lot less tokens. So how our whole ecosystem, our potential token price, like the gains could be significant. Not financial advice. I'm just saying if apples were apples and we both had the same TVL, what would their tokens be worth and what would ours be worth, right? Some people seem to overlook that. So we're trying to disperse our tokens to our community as much as possible. We've incentivized guys who have been with us longer. That whole silver tier, whitelist silver tier, is only for people who have been with us for the first 4,000 people in our Discord. It's running right now. It's open to anyone. All you got to do is jump over, use the Gleam platform. It takes you how long did it take you? 2 minutes?
It took me under 2 minutes. Oh, how long did it take you? Sorry.
Yeah, it took. I had to retweet a lot of things, and I had a couple of issues with Twitter in doing it. So it took me about around 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So 5 minutes, and you guarantee yourself an allocation.
Yeah,
that's it. Now, to get to the difficult part of your question. All right. So, we're not a totally vertigo. We're not the Borg, right? We have different opinions and different discussions. Ultimately, though, we have a legal counsel, and our legal counsel looks at requirements in different jurisdictions, and they come back and they go, yeah, I'm a bit touch and go around like the regulations in this market, right? And so our compliance team makes a judgment call. Everybody should know by now, if they haven't seen me and Kaaran interviewed, they can clearly tell it from reading our blog. We're probably at the conservative end of the spectrum, right? We tend to be risk averse because we're trying to build a real product. And like my photos here, my videos here, people know who I am. They know who Kaaran is. Like, we're a team, right? We're real people.
Yeah.
We're going to be here for the long haul. We don't want to like run afoul of regulation. People keep asking me what's going on with like Europe, because a couple of the European countries that we're excluding, other people aren't excluding. Regulations have changed in the last 4 or 5 months in Europe, right? Fat F and a couple of the other ones, they're changing. Australia is a prickly one, and it hurts me because I'm here too. But ultimately, we are thinking longer term, right? We are thinking about what is the potential for us to become a regulated entity. And one jurisdiction where that might be something that we may potentially consider is Australia, right? And then if we do a token sale that potentially runs afoul of Australian law, that's probably going to hurt us longer term, right? There's an ongoing conversation in the project. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to get them to flex, right? But I don't agree with every decision that was made. At the moment, it is what it is, right? That's kind of annoying, right?
I would just add to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Pete. I'd just add to that Liam hinted at it, that this environment is constantly changing at a very fast pace. It's very dynamic. Things change on a day-to-day basis. One day you get one advice, second day you get a totally different advice, and it's very hard. As much as we may or may not be sympathetic towards lawyers and compliance departments, they are trying to protect the project and the company, and at the end of the day, users. We've seen with high-profile court cases, not in Cardano, but you probably know the court cases I'm talking about. You put one step wrong at the beginning, and there's no going back. They will come after you, and they will try to prosecute. So, what's the sense of doing things with half-hearted, and if you like, not half-hearted, sorry, an approach that realistically it could be flawed, and that's what it is. And look, two Aussies sitting here, and you've probably gathered, maybe from my accent, I've been told South African, but I'm British, and at the end of the day, same thing. It's heartbreaking, but things do change. It is dynamic. There are possibilities things may change. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they may change for the better, not always for the worse.
Okay. All right. Good answer.
Got it out in the end.
Yes. The regulation space here in Australia is quite interesting, and the directions and things that are happening at the moment, hopefully they're all for the positive. So I can totally understand why you're taking that risk-adverse approach, because if you can get a financial license here in Australia, it opens up so many more opportunities to do some amazing things in the financial space. So yeah, totally understand that, but still bitterly disappointed. So it's a bittersweet there. But yeah,
we feel your pain.
All right. So this has been an absolutely awesome interview, and I think I got a huge amount out of this, and I think the listeners will get a huge amount out of it as well. Where is the best place to start engaging with you guys and finding out more about the project, especially for those people that are just coming into the space and haven't heard of WingRiders yet?
Sure. So the best thing right now, especially because we're in the lead up, we've got our whitelist open, and we're really starting to hit the lead up to our TGE. Discord is the best channel by far, right? We have Telegram, but to be honest, we shut down scam Telegram channels pretty regularly. We shut down one last week, another one springs up, right? Whack-a-mole. So just be careful, right? I mean, everyone's in crypto. Guys who've been here a while, they understand what I'm saying, but Discord is our is our like golden, it's our gold standard, right? Come to Discord. Our announcements are in Discord. You can follow us on Telegram and stuff too, but Discord's our channel. We communicate there more often. I'm on there a couple of hours a day. Kaaran's on there occasionally. The rest of the team jump in and out, right? That's the best place to engage with us. If you want to jump in and get into our whitelist, it's all set up there now. You could jump over right now and get yourself an allocation. You know, that's the best place. Follow us on Twitter. Go to the website, wingriders.com. Enter that. Do a swap.
Play with the app. That's
Provide
it.
liquidity.
And some LPTs.
There's the sales pitch. All right, awesome, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both on and going through all this and learning a lot more about it. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you guys on again after the TGE and with a couple of more features launching and the growth of the DEX. It's going to be pretty exciting. Hopefully, we last out through this nuclear winter, though.
Thank you very much, Pete, for having us.
Pete, it's a pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much for your time and letting us be on here and talk to people.
So I hope you guys really enjoyed the conversation. We talked about a lot of different aspects there. I think this is one of my longest interviews. It goes for just over an hour. And I really hope you guys got a lot out of it. If you really did enjoy it, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Let the WingRiders team know that it was the best WingRiders interview that you've ever seen. Something on the lines of that. Now, if you really enjoyed the content in general, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click the notification bell. It does wonders for the YouTube algorithm. That algorithm that you got to click and comment on to make things happen. And I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.